part of the science panel.
Communities. And then they organized this knowledge as a tradition, as many types of local economies going on, but also the diversification of some products. The economic and market, perhaps you will think that this is the starting point sometimes, and this is balancing. We wish to have fair markets, for example, value added and stability. The fourth one is policy and governance, because, well, we need, for example, land rights cleaned and given to the people that has rights on long history in the scenario, but also cooperation, participation, and also research and development are perhaps, well, is the one that many academics and universities are getting involved, and they are gathering this information, this data, being analyzed in order to perhaps maybe evaluation on ecological involved with economic, but also training and the knowledge exchange. If we see with more detail, the layer that I am more involved is the biology, ecology, and management in some way. And if I study palms, many of them are useful. Therefore, my research is combining also ethnoecology framework as well. So, from maybe as a starting point, we have to learn about some features, some biological dynamics like life cycles, reproductive biology, dispersal, for example, or the impacts of extraction, and maybe we can start to measure how overexploited or how is the harvesting going, like diminish the population of certain species, and also to think about this associated fauna that is taking the lead to disperse, but also to predate some seeds, for example, or to use the same products, the same species as a food or as a place to nesting and reproductive, for example. The adaptive management plans, well, this started because the same decision makers are calling to get these strategies building up. And we have to think about rotation of harvesting areas and also sustainable harvesting practices. And well, the continuous monitoring is very needed. For example, if I take a picture of the population structure of a species, I need also to analyze this same information during more years and then to learn about the dynamics of this species. So we can also find out the impact on the biodiversity as a whole, not only focusing on one species which is used. And when you see which layer comes first, for a country, perhaps they start with a line, the red one, the red arrow, that indicates first the power of administration for paying money, for building up some rules, how to put some controls in certain areas and so forth. But also governance. The governance is also dealing with the local communities. They are also socially organized. And then we have to know about the local or the internal rules that they having for a long time in the territory. The economic and market, perhaps, yes, they are fixing the prices. Mostly of the times are not fair prices for the producers, or the harvesting people. And also, social and cultural are more or less in the same level of importance for the country. The country forgets about science, technology, and the people. And they are dealing always from the policy to the bottom. But, well, if we learn from the bottom-up direction, we know that social and cultural is the beginning. No? They have had these traditions from the beginning of their lives, the cultures in the Amazon, for example, and they are working together with scientists. This is a cooperation in field. Well, if we recall on non-timber forest products of the Amazon, we are thinking in some species, mostly in some species, perhaps 120, 250, but it's a low number because we are focusing on certain species, right? And it's like being fragmented as a landscape. But we have had, as our Amazonian region, a big, important, maybe challenge that there are economic incomes for the regions. I couldn't find a good source to show you these numbers, but Brazil is the one, you know? You know that very well. If we mention how much produces the global region as a global, it reaches like 90,000 billions of American dollars. And from them, Brazil has 300 million per year. That means that if we can have perhaps 3 scenarios in the Amazon, if we use the 25% of the whole quantity of these non-timber forest products, then we reach a kind less than Brazil is producing. You know? So it's a challenge for us because there is money, but mostly money for massive production. That means that it's tons of resources. And another issue here is that there are many categories of uses. Food, food, the first one, which is the major part of the whole number of these products. Medicines and rituals, the ayahuasca and so on, fibers, resins, ornamentals, and also handicrafts, cultural, and the functioning of the ecosystem. Some of them are used for food, also for fauna. But you know, if we take the example of food category, which is the most important for the Amazon, fruits, beverages, pulp from the fruits, oils, leaves, many others that, for example, palm heart, which is the young leaf, has been cut when the species has only one trunk or is a single stem species. But you know, FAO has considered this non-timber product as a supplement, not as a main food. And this is giving also a focus on a secondary place in regards or in comparison with others like maize, soya, soybean, etc. And in the international agenda, that means that timber and staple crops, like I told first, soybeans, corn also, and rice, are really the main priorities for this economy, and relegates these forest foods to a secondary role. And this is international, and this gives a pressure also on certain regions, on certain countries. And this favors on agribusiness in the Amazon. And this is very dangerous and has been very dangerous and destructive by now. And many Amazonian fruits, let's say camu camu, açaí, aguaje, guaraná, so they are growing in demand, but still mainly at the local level. And its production is often scattered. That relies on many local communities, but many industries are basing also this exploitation. And they are not always integrated into a large value chains. So it's scattered. All these species that are being used is under a fragment landscape. Native Amazonian food has not been a priority, because it's not on a large scale, but still is recognized in two points. One is that it is key to local and regional food security, and the second is that it is manageable under sustainable techniques or tools for forest conservation. So there are some challenges also for food production. I can name all these lists. You can see for ecological, for example, are the overexploitation, seasonal and climatic variability, lack of management, unstable markets under economic, high logistics costs, unequal intermediation, which is very, very tough in Bolivia, for example, this line. Social governance, lack of gender equality, access and tenure rights, and also the scientific and technological. Low investment in applied research. For Bolivia, has been a very difficult topic to gather or to look for money. And also a lack of local innovation. And this is our task. Well, I'm going to move to useful palms in Bolivia, and now I will start to talk in Spanish, because I enjoy more. Bolivia es un país que no tiene más de, ¿dónde está? 100 especies de palmeras nativas. El 60% de estas 100 especies son consideradas útiles por las comunidades humanas. Pero como Bolivia tiene un 45% de influencia de los elementos biogeográficos de la Amazonía, el 80% de ese 60% proviene de esta maravillosa región. Hay 10 categorías que han sido clasificadas, pero nuevamente la tendencia es que el alimento es el más importante para el país. Y estamos hablando de frutos, palmito, bebidas y la extracción de aceites. El aceite para comer, pero también el aceite cosmecéutico, ¿no? Que es como medicina y también como cosmético. Y bueno, luego hay materiales de construcción, hay artesanías y alimentación animal, pero también para fines ceremoniales. Y básicamente el enganche que estoy queriendo compartir con ustedes es que este uso de recursos de palmeras consideradas no maderables en la literatura considera a esta fotografía que sacamos a la estructura poblacional con una lista de indicadores que nos permiten precisamente un poco medir los procedimientos de extracción para controlar la sostenibilidad en su presencia, producción a largo plazo. Y claro, podríamos tal vez asegurar ese manejo sostenido. Dicho de otra forma, también podríamos clasificar, por ejemplo, los alimentos en una lista, ¿no? con varias especies representativas, pero estamos hablando en el caso de especies de muchas compartidas en la gran región Amazonia, en la Pan-Amazonia. En el caso de construcción tal vez empiezan a haber diferencias entre especies, también medicinales y cosméticos, utensilios, estas que empiezan a generar mayor ingreso porque la cosecha también es masificada, y finalmente estas oportunidades ceremoniales y decorativas, ¿no? Si vemos el análisis de la estructura poblacional, definitivamente es un esquema que mide cuán cuidada está esta especie, la misma distribución, digamos, de los individuos por edad o por clase de altura o clase de edad. En el caso de las palmeras es muy difícil saber la edad, felices ellas si están como adultos mayores, digamos, ¿no? Pero nadie puede medir tan fácilmente la edad como tratar de conseguir tal vez cicatrices de las hojas en el tronco. Pero digamos, si tenemos esta curva 1, según Peters, desde allí, desde 1996, se están aplicando estos análisis y estamos encontrando en realidad una población autorregenerativa, es decir, necesita propágulos con un elevado número. Y esas plántulas o esas semillas que han germinado empieza a disminuir el número hacia juveniles y preadultos hasta llegar con un número tal vez mucho más reducido a nivel adulto. El nivel adulto es el que está repitiendo el ciclo y se la considera autorregenerativa, es decir, está saludable esa población, por decir de alguna manera. Pero si solamente predominan los adultos y tienen muy poca regeneración, ¿no es cierto? Esta parte se pierde. Entonces tenemos un problema de regeneración biológica de esta especie. Y de repente, en este caso, sí deberíamos aplicar un monitoreo correctivo, digamos así, en el tiempo, pero no es en un año, en meses, ¿no es cierto? Es en 20 años que tenemos que reaccionar. Y también los estadios adultos son los que son mayormente cosechados en la Amazonía, mucho más por encima de los juveniles, porque tienen otra textura, otras propiedades mecánicas. Si lo decimos de otra forma, realmente necesitamos hasta millones de semillas para lograr tener unos 2 a 40 adultos, ¿no? O sea, que esa es la curva que va precisamente madurando hasta empezar a producir sus primeras flores y frutos. Entonces, el monitoreo de la población en realidad es esencial porque este permite detectar ciertas dinámicas o ciertas fluctuaciones que tal vez resulten de la presión de la cosecha y también que esté afectando a la regeneración, es decir, a la instalación de las semillas germinadas y también en rangos o tasas de fertilidad y producción de semillas. Pero la verdad es que el monitoreo es uno de los pasos que menos se aplica en la Amazonía. Voy a considerar 3 casos y voy a empezar con esta maravillosa palmera que considero que es la más hermosa de la Amazonía y es una princesa. El azaí, como la conocemos en Bolivia, se trata de la especie que ha tenido además un boom de ingresos económicos. Esto lo voy a traducir porque no lo he escrito. During 3 or 5 years, in Bolivia we have got near to $15 million for these 3 years exploiting palm heart from Euterpe precatoria. And this has been a boom, but also a destruction of these species in many places of the Amazon. Ahora sí, muevo a castellano, me siento más cómoda. Se encuentra entonces esta especie en la Amazonía, pero también en sitios muy altos, ¿no? Hasta 800 metros en el subandino, como lo conocemos. Y también esto se ha visto comparativamente que puede crecer en sitios inundados, ¿no? Esto en toda su distribución se ha visto esto. Y hay un interés local para poder cosechar hojas. Dura 18 años el techo tejido del azaí, estas bebidas, que en realidad este ha sido el cambio de cosecha precisamente para evitar la colección o la cosecha de palmito. También los frutos secos o desecados sirven para artesanías, las raíces para fines medicinales y también nidos de aves, son sitios de colonias de murciélagos y también alimentación para aves. Pero una etapa que también es muy triste ver es que muchas comunidades locales han cortado la planta entera, ¿no? Para cosechar los frutos. Bueno, esto creo que se ha pasado a toda la región amazónica y las comunidades ya trepan prácticamente la palmera. En el análisis que hemos hecho en campo, se nota que prácticamente tiene una curva autorregenerativa, ¿no? Hay un 85% de los individuos que dependen de la regeneración, y para la cosecha se sacan 2 a 3 infrutescencias por adulto, dejando un 10%, o sea, un conteo de individuos que mantienen la producción de semillas hacia la siguiente generación, precisamente para las dinámicas naturales del bosque. Y la recomendación que se ha hecho en campo es que en sitios donde la densidad es mayor a 5 individuos por hectárea, es lo recomendable, es para medir mi tiempo, que no excedan, digamos, la capacidad productiva, y así se evita precisamente sobreexplotar. La segunda especie que quiero tal vez mostrar es una especie del sotobosque, es decir, requiere un poco más de sombra, es shady place, ¿no? Tiene que ser sombra. Tiene varios troncos, inclusive entre 15 a 20 en diferente estado de desarrollo, por lo tanto tiene una característica de cosecha agronómica muy buena. Y en la Amazonía crece en densas poblaciones, pero sobre todo exige suelos arenosos, ¿no? Es decir, si son aluviales, pero no están expuestos a la luz. Esto es una combinación extraña. Pero el mayor uso que le da la gente es este techado, que dura 25 años como tejido y no se quema. Los físicos en la Universidad de La Paz hicieron estudios y tiene una capa de cera. También sirve para un poco de armonizar con sitios turísticos, el techo van a ver ahora, y también los frutos son comida para aves. Generalmente se seleccionan hojas maduras porque tienen que llegar a un óptimo, digamos, de las fibras, ¿no? Del desarrollo de fibras para poder responder, pero la demanda a veces es tan alta por esa duración de 25 años que muchas veces estos sitios están cada vez más alejados de las comunidades humanas y están empezando a cosechar hojas que no están totalmente maduras, ¿no? O sea que esta parte también la están desconociendo. Entonces fíjense ustedes, es un trabajo muy laborioso, ¿no? Tienen el tejido que arman sobre unos ejes de Ginerium sagittatum, la conocemos como charo en Bolivia, y ustedes van viendo que manualmente van tejiendo la última parte, la porción, digamos, esta porción de 70 a 1 metro, un poquito más de 3, generalmente trifoliada, 1, 2, 3 foliolos, y que van disponiendo sobre estos ejes a lo largo, ¿no? Son 4 metros. Entonces queda prácticamente una superposición de estos techos y realmente es impresionante. Es la duración y la protección contra lluvias y vientos, etcétera, es maravillosa. Hemos comparado en realidad entre hills and plains, ¿no? Para ver si había diferencia, digamos, en la curva poblacional. Es otra especie autorregenerativa. El 77% de cada uno de estos clumps, ¿no? Porque son hasta 24 troncos, el 77% son cosechables, es decir, pese a que tiene esos 24 troncos, las hojas que están mostrando cada tronco, pues son ya cosechables. Y entonces hay diferencias de la regeneración en el índice de tanto la relación de plántulas, ¿no? Versus adultos. Pero hay dos formas de cosechar. Uno, que cortan totalmente la corona o remueven una por una las hojas adultas, ¿no? Y separan de las juveniles. Hemos recomendado que no se corten más de 1.3 de altura y dejar 1 a 2 tallos por individuo, porque el individuo es el que tiene diferentes tallos. Además, hemos notado también que las plántulas en esta especie son sobrelapadas por la hojarasca y por eso también había mortalidad de muchas plántulas en la recategorización que hicimos. Pero también se ha pedido a las comunidades locales que dejen por lo menos una recuperación de 3 años de esta especie. Y la tercera, que también está, creo que Genoma diversa no está en Brasil, pero Onocarpus patagua sí, es otra poderosa palmera, llega al canopy, ¿no? Y tiene un tronco solitario, pero crece también hasta las montañas andinas, hasta 1000 metros de altitud, y hemos notado que aquí se ve mayor densidad de individuos que en el plano amazónico. Además, también exige suelos muy bien drenados. En el caso del majo, como la conocemos en Bolivia, el uso que se asigna, que es más importante, son los frutos. Frutos y semillas son cocinados, se prepara una bebida muy nutritiva, tiene el sabor de un chocolate diluido, y también para extraer aceite cosmecéutico. Y bueno, los usos menores son también las hojas, el tronco, etcétera, pero es de mucho menor intensidad. Y cuando hemos analizado las curvas, también vemos que es autorregenerativa, depende del 81%, pero fíjense la producción, la tasa productiva es impresionante, ¿no? Hay como 68 a 136 individuos reproductivos por hectárea, y esto es mucho más alto en las montañas. Se cosecha 1 a 2 infrutescencias por individuo por año, y en algunas comunidades todavía están cortando todo el tronco, ¿no? O sea que evitan el tener que cortar cuando son muy altas, y también esta práctica de cosecha está disminuyendo. Ya estoy acabando. Pero ¿cuánto es lo que tenemos que dejar para la cosecha? Por un lado es que tengamos un 10% tal vez, ¿no? O un 20%, pero si se trata de especies que tienen una alta fertilidad y una amplia dispersión como el Onocarpus y el Ortepe, pero tal vez podríamos dejar en ese 10%. Pero para Bertholletia excelsa, por ejemplo, esta Lecipidaceae requiere mucho más que el 20% porque tiene las cohortes de regeneración que son muy lentas, ¿no? Y también hay la consideración que la producción de frutos varía entre años. En cambio, algunos autores han pedido que se deje el 30 al 60% de frutos para que funcione el bosque. Si pensamos en la Amazonía, hay algunas especies que están aisladas y esto resulta en desbalances. De repente deberíamos pensar en grupos de especies que coexisten en el sitio y alternar tal vez los recursos cosechados, sin afectar a una sola especie con la presión de la cosecha, considerar la producción, la calidad y la regeneración para la sostenibilidad y también apoyar el involucramiento de la gente para monitorear. Ellos ya están capacitados para realizar un monitoreo y también una independencia tecnológica para evitar la explotación. Por ello, tal vez sería bueno pensar en canales de mercadeo en la Amazonía que tenga este componente cultural y de equidad. Los triángulos que estoy señalando, me gustaría realzar que tal vez esa es la receta para estos pobladores y estos recursos. Financiadores. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have time for one short question. Gracias. Okay, our next so we have a small change in the program. So our next speaker is Dr. Carolina Naveira Cota. She is an associate professor at Mechanical Engineering Department at the Federal University at Rio de Janeiro. She was an affiliated member of the Brazilian Academy of Science from 2015 to 2019. She is an affiliated member of the TWAS, and she's a member of the Scientific Council of the International Center for Heat and Mass Transfer. let's welcome Dr. Madeira.
So sorry. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Chair, for the nice introduction. And thank you, Jacqueline, again for inviting me to have this opportunity to share with you guys the kind of work that we do at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro in the Mechanical Engineering Department. So slightly different, so changing topics. But I believe very much aligned with energy, food, nexus, the things that TYAN and TWAS are very much interested in. So this is the place that we have the lab in Rio de Janeiro. So you'll be there, most of you, next week. And I invite you all to visit the Federal University and our lab, and if you have the time and the chance. So we work there in transport phenomena, especially micro and nano scale, but also bridging the size and the scales. We do a lot of simulations since we are engineering. We compare our prediction with the experimental results, and we manufacture most of the things that we try to use. So that was just to give an idea, because it's on the back of everything that we'll be showing here today. So this is the summary and the highlights of the topics. I briefly pass through the objectives, justify why we are interested in these topics, and the goal is to present this cogeneration plant that would be able to produce electricity and water for isolated community. And so I will point out the technological innovation and then the next steps. So the idea of this main project is to produce electricity and desalinated water. So the idea is to use brackish water, so groundwater from the ground floor or seawater, to produce potable water, and also use renewable energy simultaneously, and in a way to be decentralized. That's the point. So we take care of islands, isolated communities, the ones that are offshore or off-grid, and then that's the idea. And doing that, we pass by for a few goals of the nation, so the sustainable goals. So drinking water, assessment to the clean climate change actions, and so clean energy also. So what is the main goal of this idea? So the main goal is to attend the demand of energy and water. So to this application that will be demonstrated here, we'll be using solar and to produce electricity, so it's renewable, but also we could use many other sources of electricity and recover. The idea is to recover the heat from the production of the electricity and use this recovered heat for other proposals. So the electricity that will be producing can be on grid if the community is on grid, but can be directed for the consumption of the community. And the recovered heat we could use for many proposals, but here we'll be showing to produce potable water. So this kind of idea can be applicable in any isolated isolate community. So if you have infrastructure work, usually you are in the middle of nowhere, you don't have electricity there or you don't have water. If you are in a poor community, like we have in the northeast of Brazil, or as you have in Africa, India, so many places. So if you are off-grid communities, you need usually electricity and simultaneously water. Like in the northeast of the country of Brazil, we have a lot of communities, I will be briefly show that the groundwater is salty. So they don't have electricity, and the quality of the water that they have is not good enough for the animals or the vegetables or even for the people that lives there. And you also, if you are in an island, even have a lot of water around, the water is salty. So that's the point, to give the opportunity to have both electricity and water. So as you well know, the renewable energy like solar panels, they are kind of a possibility of reducing the carbon footprint. But the problem is that when you place a solar farmer, usually you choose a place where you have a lot of sunlight, but also usually it's a desert area. So you suffer a lot with this kind of dusty on the panels. And then this reduce a lot, can be more than 6% of reduction in terms of electricity that you'll be producing. So if you need even the water to clean up the solar panels, to be able to produce the amount of energy, electricity that you need to have a lot of water, but if you are in a desert area, it also be a challenge. And as I was mentioned, water resource. Yesterday we have a nice presentation about water. So this is a typical problem of water. So sometimes you have a lot of water, but sometimes you have no quality or no quantity of water. So the red one are low quality, simultaneously low quality and low quantity. The yellow one is low quantity, and the orange one is low quality. But even here in the north, we have been trying to reach some places here because the river, in contact with the ocean, the water there is a lot, but it's also salty. And we have a lot of communities that have this kind of low quality water and without electricity. There's also a kind of population that we also can be addressing this idea. And the prediction for the next years are not good at all. So we need to do something, and this is one possibility of action. And here in Brazil, we have a really nice program called Programa Freshwater, Água Doce. So it's a federal program that backs to 96. And really nice because they have found out almost 4,000 communities that doesn't have water enough to survive in terms of dignity of amount of water, and but only less than 1,000, dated by 2020, less than 1,000 has been contracted reverse osmosis systems because they are on-grid community. So they were able to desalinate water using the electricity to pressurize the water against membranes, and then they have desalt water. But depending on the community, they are off-grid. So they were not able to have this kind of systems. Or also, depending on the community, the quality of the water is so bad, like a high salinity water. Then the membranes for the reverse osmosis are not good enough. So these communities were also not prioritized. So this is something that we are aligned to, we try to align to. And the applicability of our project, our idea, is to take the most of this nice program and install this idea in the communities that were not prioritized by this program. So being complementary. So most of the water that is desalinated in the world are these reverse osmosis. So like in Fernando de Noronha, we have a lot of reverse osmosis systems. What it does, so you use electricity and when you have pressure, then the water comes against a lot of of membranes in a cascade way, and passing through many membranes, what you have is a less salty water. But to do that, you need to use electricity. So the idea that we are bringing here is to use another way of desalination. It's a thermal process, a membrane distillation. So this membrane distillation also uses membranes, but the water doesn't cross the membrane. What we have is a hot salt water and a cold distilled water. So the temperature difference in between these two streams makes only vapor crossing the membrane. So you have a longer time for the membranes, and we also able to take care of more salty water. So, for example, the ocean, the seawater, you have 35 grams of salt per liter. We are able to go 10 times higher, 300 grams of salt per liter. So, because this thermal process doesn't suffer a little bit with the salinity of the water, but not impose that limit that reverse osmosis has. So why this process was not that much used during the past? So it's quite recent. It dates back to 60, but the first company started to appear in 2010. And the point here is because if you have electricity and you use the electricity to warm up the water, to heat the water and enhance its temperature, doesn't pay back. If you have the electricity, use the reverse osmosis and then will be more efficient and low cost. But the point here that we are trying to use is the heat that we can recover, the heat that we'll be losing for the ambient. Like if you have the air conditioner, you have hot air going out to the ambient. If you have your computer, you have a lot of heat being spread. So the solar panel that I mentioned, also the efficiency of the solar panels usually are 10 to 15%. The amount, the 100% of energy that comes from the sun, only 10-15% becomes electricity. The rest, the amount of that is not being transformed to electricity is heat that is being spread to the ambient. So you can recover this heat and use this recovered heat in this membrane distillation, this thermal process. And that's the idea of that we are bringing here today. So we designed and built a prototype, a TRL6, presented in a relevant ambient. So we use only commercial equipment because the idea is to be able to be aligned with the freshwater program and maybe attempt 3,000 communities. So we need to have commercial equipment and we will assemble all of them together. So we have a solar panel that produces 5 kilowatts electricity in terms of electricity that would be able to attend 26 residents. Again, the idea is to decentralize and to be able to attend small communities. And then we recover the heat from the back of the panel and use it in a membrane distillation process. And we are able to produce 1,000 liters of potable water by the end of the day. So about 100 people. And also just to have some flexibility, we also add some solar collectors because sometimes you don't have that much sun in terms of producing electricity. Then the amount of electricity can be reduced, but you still can have some heating up the water, so the salty water, to run the desalination process. That gives us flexibility. And also we have a thermal reservoir because when the sunlight is not more available, we can still run a few hours during the night using these, coupling all this equipment. So this is the, this, I hope the film runs. Yeah, so this is our experimental setup, the prototype just in front of our building at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. So we have the solar panel, the solar collectors, and inside the containers we have the membrane distillation process running. So this is the idea that you have been working on. So the solar panel that we decided to start was this one. It's a high concentrated solar panel. This was just because at the Federal University we didn't have that much space to build this idea, so we decided to start with this one. This one has a Fresnel lens that's concentrated 800 suns. So the temperature on the back of the panel is really high. That's improve, of course, the temperature of the water, and that's all to make the desalination steps easier. The solar collectors that I mentioned to you to make it possible in terms of flexibility. Inside the container, we have the thermal reservoir that keeps the water heated even after the sunlight is gone, and the water desalination unit. So we have these modules on the top, that we have the membranes, the hot and salty water, and the cold and distilled water, and just vapor crossing the membranes. Different arrangements, that is a more technique points that I won't point out these, and we have tested this unit up to 200 grams per liter, but in the lab we reached 300 grams of salt per liter of water. So how we recover the heat? So in this unit we decided to use micro heat exchange. We place it on the back of the panel, and we can compare a single day test just to have an idea. So with a passive cooler, if you lose the heat to the ambient, and if you recover the heat from the back, so the amount of solar energy being transformed into electricity, around 22% of efficient in this day. So the same amount you can reach using the active cooling. But on top of that, you have the possibility of recover the heat. So this is also energy. So the global efficiency of the system increase, and you can give this heat to a secondary process. One important point is that the reverse osmosis use pressure. The membrane distillation, what drives the process is temperature. But the point is that the temperature of the water doesn't need to be that high. That's the good point. So if the water is 40 Celsius degree, you can run the membrane distillation. If it's 60 Celsius degrees, 70 Celsius degrees, so what we call is a low-grade energy, is energy low quality. Because if you have a vapor 300 Celsius degrees, anyone can use this heat to do something. But when you have 60 degrees, 40 degrees, usually you throw it away. You give it to the ocean, you throw it to the ocean. That's the point that we are trying to use this low quality part of the heat. So what we did, as I mentioned before, we did a lot of simulation. We optimized the size of the channel. We did the manufacturing using 3D printers and micro milling, and we tested the micro heat exchanger before inside the lab, and then we placed them on the back of the solar panel. So this was also the 3D printer just because we had it, and this was also allowed us to try different structure in the middle of the device. Of course, by the end, to be cheaper, to be faster, we decided to use the optimization steps, give us a simpler device. But the 3D printer is really nice because it's able to produce a metal micro heat exchange with complex geometry inside the channels. So these are some performance of the membrane distillation. So the goal was to produce 1,000 liters of water per day. That gives us 42 liters of water per hour. And controlling the operational condition, we were able even to go higher in terms of produced water. So this is kind of an analysis that we run there. So, and just to comes for the final comments. So the idea is to bring, to pass this valley of death. So we need FINEP helping us, and I will briefly mention something about it. So we are trying to jump from the prototype system to a commercial system to place 1 unit of this in a community of the northeast of the country. So the idea is to take the diagnosis, the experience that the people have with the freshwater program, and prioritize some communities isolated without grid. So the idea is to be complementary to what the freshwater program has. And we are in the way. So we have some nice talks, and we are placing a project together with the Ministry of Regional Development to the FINEP. Next week or so, we found out 2 communities, one in Paraíba and the other one in Rio Grande do Norte. All of them depend 100% on water trucks and limited to 3 liters of water per person per day. And they are very poor communities, about 10 families in this community on Rio Grande do Norte, and about 35 families in Boa Vista in Paraíba. And we will be placing 1 unit potable water per person per day. And something else that we are also doing with the Navy, we are about to test next month a mobile station. So here the idea is to have electricity not coming from a solar panel, but a diesel engine. So what happens, you produce electricity with the diesel engine, and you recover the heat from the diesel engine to produce water. So to help some, like we had in the south of the country, in Porto Alegre, when you have the flooding, so they were out of electricity and they were out of potable water. So giving this kind of solution in collaboration with the Navy, it's easy scalable. So you can have many of them and distribute it to different locations, and then you are able to produce electricity, also potable water. Because since it's a membrane distillation, we also treat the water. So you can have a lot of contaminants because only vapor crosses the membrane. We are also using the same technology to treat produced water from the oil exploration, because the produced oil from the oil exploration comes with the whole periodic tables, and you can keep everything on one side of the membrane and just pure water coming through the pore of the membrane. So, and another idea is to have these like a boat, and then we could achieve the communities on the Amazonia, giving the solution to them also. So that's something that we are working on right now. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. This is the students, the researchers that we have in the lab. Here you have my email. Please contact me if you are able to visit the lab next week. And the thanks, of course, to the guy that gave us the money to proceed with the research. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carolina.
Hi, good morning. So usually what it is said is that the problem in converting solar power to energy is heat waste. And in this way, well, you're addressing the problem in a very clever way. And I was thinking, I am an agronomist, okay? So probably what I'm going to say is not a very thought out idea. But people have been saying that a way to store heat and then release it is with sodium salts. So I was wondering if it were possible to add a compartment in your systems behind the solar panels to store heat during the day, and then you might release it during the night. Just an idea.
No, it's a great question. Indeed, we are thinking about that. You remember that reservoir, the thermal reservoir that I mentioned? We are one easy, not easy, but possible and quite fast way is to use phase change material. So you can place phase change material inside the thermal reservoir, and then you keep the heat longer period. And of course, other possibilities are also possible. We are taking care of these also, but that's research. You see, we are bringing research to try to reach the TRL higher, like TRL 9. So we are using, at this point, commercial equipment only to be faster, to be in the community as fast as we can. But in parallel, this research are being aligned with. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations, Caroline, for your wonderful talk. It's a very important subject in some places. You show the mobile energy that how many mobile stations you use to some community to give energy to some community. It is easy to take this to the middle of Amazonia also.
Yes. Thank you again for your question. Yes, so the idea is exactly that. So you can scale up the production. So what we have projected here, we have designed it here, is to have one module of the membrane using the recovered heat from the diesel engine. This single unit would be able to produce more than 1,000 liters of water per day. If you need more than 1,000 liters, you just need more units working together, or you can place more modules in the same unit. You see, because you have a lot of heat from the diesel engine, much more heat than you have from the solar panel. Here is the amount of heat is quite high. So you can recover this heat and using more modules. And again, the idea is you see, when we were talking with the Minister of the Regional Development, they asked us to go to Bailik. Do you know Bailik? It's an island in the north part of the country, 11 hours by boat. You see, they need everything. If you look to any index, they have the worst one. So we are targeting this kind of community. But the two first one would be inland in the northeast, because it would be easier for us to start, because there is a lot of things to also learn from these two first units. But again, the idea is to go to the Amazon region also. Yes, in the middle of nothing. So they have water, but no quality of water. So they need to have potable water. They can use this kind of, and they have to produce also electricity to them. So you can couple solar photovoltaics and diesel, and then you can run both of them or one of them. Yes. This one is ready. This one is ready. Yeah, we'll be testing next month. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks everyone. Right now we have a short coffee break.